This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Heather Sells. A recent YouTube video of children having conversation with a pro-choice activist who had an abortion is sparking controversy. Mark Martin joins us now in the newsroom. Mark, what is the concern here?
Heather, the woman who started the hashtag Shout Your Abortion movement, Amelia Bono, is seen in the video talking with kids about her abortion experience and sharing her views on the issue. The organization High Hope Kids published the video late last week. It's entitled Kids Meet Someone Who's Had an Abortion. In it, Bono compares having an abortion to a bad dentist appointment and a bodily procedure that's kind of uncomfortable. She also tells one child that she believes abortion is all part of God's plan.
When you have an abortion, what exactly do you do to have the abortion?
You go to the doctor and they put this little straw inside of your cervix and then inside of your uterus, and then they just suck the pregnancy out. And it was like a crappy dentist appointment or something. I think it's all part of God's plan.
Now, CBN News reached out to Bono for comment on the video, and we also reached out to High Hope Kids for comment, the organization that published it and whose YouTube channel has more than 2 million subscribers. They have not yet responded to our inquiry. Back to you, Heather.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. Well, in Kansas, pro-lifers are calling a recent ruling on abortion drugs infuriating. A judge ruled Monday that the state cannot stop telemedicine abortions, where doctors provide pregnancy-ending pills to women they see through remote video conferences. This was the third attempt by Kansas lawmakers to outlaw telemed abortions. 17 other states have banned the practice. Mary Kay Culp, executive director of Kansans for Life, said in a statement, "This judge has a long history of taking laws designed by the legislature to protect unborn babies and women and turning them into laws that instead protect the abortion industry." Well, Mary Kay Culp joins us now to talk more about the ruling. Mary Kay, lawmakers have tried 3 times to pass a law outlawing telemedicine abortion. What is the problem in your view?
The problem is a judge that has decided that abortion is his agenda, and he goes along with anything the Center for Reproductive Rights has to say. Here's what happened. We outlawed it in 2011 in a bigger bill about clinic licensing. It was enjoined by that judge. But in 2015, that part of the bill, the telemedicine bill, was passed again. It was tweaked to add the emergency language so that it was the same as in our other bills. And but because the entire law, the telemedicine part, was passed again, it was believed to be in force. In fact, our opponents on, I believe the website is rewire.com, they even said, oh, this law is in effect now because, XYZ, our attorney general. So the law is in effect now. And in fact, the abortion industry here in Kansas didn't do any telemedicine abortions. They thought it was in effect. What happened this year in 2018 is a new telemedicine bill came along that simply had to do with the fact of requiring that insurance companies, whenever someone was getting some medical help through telemedicine, that the insurance companies had to treat it like they were seeing their doctor down the street.
Okay, so let me just cut to the chase if I can. What do you think is the way forward at this point? For 3 times, you haven't been successful here.
Well, we have been successful. Our argument, we have been successful to the point where the abortion people didn't do any of these abortions until this past October, because in the 2018 version, we said, remember, you still can't do telemedicine abortions. This is your separate bill here about parity. That's fine. But remember that abortions can never be done by telemedicine. Well, they sued again. And this time the original judge, who's quite an abortion activist on this issue, the judicial activist, he said, oh, no. That should be back under the injunction I had against this whole bill in 2011. So we are looking at what in the world we can do about this. Someone said he's very cleverly worded his decision on page 11 to make it so that our Attorney General can't even appeal this decision.
So you're debating your next legal ramifications, it sounds like, or what you're going to do next. Sounds like there's not a clear path forward right now.
Right. We've still got a pro-life governor for 14 days. We'll see if we can do. We don't know if that will make a difference or not. And so that's where we're at.
All right. Well, we are out of time, but thank you so much for your time, Mary Kay Culp.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, there is hope for a breakthrough today to end the partial government shutdown now in its second week. President Donald Trump is meeting with Democratic and Republican congressional leaders at the White House, but he is not backing down on his demand for funding for a border wall to end the shutdown.
We are not giving up. We have to have border security, and the wall is a big part of border security, the biggest part.
White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says congressional leaders are invited for a border security briefing from senior Homeland Security officials, but Fox News reports that Sanders calls Pelosi's plan to end the shutdown a non-starter. Well, meanwhile, at the border, U.S. authorities fired tear gas into Mexico during the first hours of the new year to repel immigrants trying to breach the fence. The U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency said the gas was used to target about 150 people in Tijuana who were throwing rocks at the fence. The agency said it saw toddler-sized children being passed over but could not assist the children because of the rocks being thrown. Agents said they responded with smoke, pepper spray, and tear gas. They said 25 immigrants were detained while others crawled back into Mexico through a hole under the fence. Customs and Border Protection said the incident will be reviewed under its use of force policy. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is in Brazil for the inauguration of the country's new president, Jair Bolsonaro. Pompeo met with Bolsonaro Wednesday at the presidential palace in Brazil. The new inaugurated president is a fan of President Trump and rose to power on an anti-corruption and pro-gun agenda. At a news conference, Pompeo said Bolsonaro's election creates a unique moment for the two countries.
We believe that the opportunity between President Trump, President Bolsonaro, and our two teams creates a truly transformative opportunity for our two nations, for our two peoples. And we in the United States are committed to working alongside of you to do that in lots of areas, certainly in economic areas, making sure that our two countries' businesses have great opportunities, but also deeper collaboration on the security front as well.
During his time in the country, Pompeo also visited the U.S. Embassy and met with Brazil's new foreign minister. Well, the Russian government said Wednesday that it has allowed an American citizen held on espionage charges to have access to U.S. officials seeking answers about his arrest. Paul Whelan, a former Marine and head of global security for a Michigan-based auto parts supplier, was arrested Friday. Whelan was in Moscow to attend a wedding when he disappeared. In announcing the arrest 3 days later, the Russian security service said Whelan was caught during an espionage operation, but gave no details. Now, Russia has granted U.S. consular officials access to Whelan for the first time since his arrest. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said if the detention is not appropriate, we will demand his immediate return. Evangelist Franklin Graham says he was recently suspended from Facebook. He says it lasted for 24 hours in response to a 2-year-old post of his on North Carolina's bathroom bill. In a post about the suspension, Graham says Facebook is trying to define the truth. He wrote, "There was a character in a movie a few years back who said, 'The truth is what I say it is.' That's what Facebook is trying to do. They're making the rules and changing the rules. Truth is truth. God made the rules, and his word is truth. Actually, Facebook is censoring free speech. The free exchange of ideas is part of our country's DNA." Graham also wrote that Facebook said his post went against its community standards on hate speech. He reposted his 2016 comments and asked readers if they saw any hate speech in what he wrote. You can see the full story with the embedded post at cbnnews.com. Well, Facebook has been plagued with problems and criticism from Capitol Hill to Main Street America over its moderation of accounts and posts. CBN's Ephraim Graham recently spoke with one journalist who dove into the debate.
Erin Dunn with the Washington Examiner joins us now. She's written an opinion piece called "Why Facebook Can't Be Fixed." Erin, as we just reported, evangelist Franklin Graham was banned from Facebook for about 24 hours, and the social media giant even apologized. But why do these sort of things happen?
Facebook has expanded really, really rapidly into new markets, into new territory, and to be used in new and different ways. The result of that expansion is a network of information that the company really doesn't know what to do with. They've faced a lot of complaints. They've even been on the Hill trying to testify before Congress to explain what's going on. And in trying to meet all of those demands, they end up cutting content sometimes that they say doesn't meet their community standards and has been perhaps flagged, but then later going back and looking at it more thoroughly and actually having to end up apologizing. And we've seen this happen not just in this case, but in other cases as well. And that's really a testament to how Facebook has tried to perhaps overcorrect some of its true errors in allowing things to be online that maybe shouldn't be, or maybe they don't want to see on that platform.
So why is it you think that Facebook can't be fixed?
So Facebook can't be fixed really because it comes down to a question of the money. There are two different possibilities when faced with a problem of content on their platform that they don't like or that they think is adverse to their image. The first option is to say that we're going to have an unmoderated platform, that anyone can post whatever they would like to post on Facebook, and that's going to be fine. That, however, was not the decision that Facebook went with, in part because they were facing some very valid criticism for the spread of disinformation, the spread of violence, and other things that were taking place on that platform. The other option would have been to say that we're really going to invest heavily in having high-quality moderation. That ends up costing a lot, too, and like leaving content up that brings a lot of criticism affects their bottom line. In the end, it's actually too expensive to have high-quality moderation and too expensive for the company facing so much criticism to leave this content up, and that means that their business model that they're currently relying on is probably unviable in the long term if they want to keep public trust and at the same time be able to have content that people don't feel is overly moderated or is problematic on the internet.
What is the concern when it comes to freedom of ideas, beliefs, and freedom of speech when moderation is needed when it comes to violence, bullying, and threats?
Facebook is a private company. So in the United States, we have the idea that free speech is paramount to our democracy, and it is. You cannot have a functioning government as we do unless people are able to air out their ideas, even those abhorrent ones. But Facebook, as a private company, does not necessarily have to have that same value, and as I mentioned earlier, is really more concerned about the bottom line and how their decisions when it comes to what is on their website is affecting costs, users, and the information that they're able to gather from users, which is ultimately how they generate money. So at the end of the day, while we would like to say that Facebook is like the public forum, it is like a town square where all of these ideas can be heard, debated, and engaged with, that is not the model that Facebook is operating at, and nor should it be. It's a private company, and it can do what it thinks is best for its shareholders.
It being a private company, do you believe that Facebook has a political agenda, or are these simply situations reflecting the politics of the Facebook moderators?
I think that is actually neither of those. It's slightly more complicated. A lot of what we've seen with moderation, both in the United States and abroad, reflects a very loose guidelines of what should be accepted. Recently, the New York Times did an investigation where they actually obtained 1,400 documents that had been used as the guidelines for moderators. And what we see there is not a political agenda, isn't really any kind of agenda, but really a last-minute attempt to deal with issues that are arising on the platform and quickly put something in place where they're telling moderators, this is what you should be looking for. In the United States and elsewhere, obviously, that's aided by users who can flag comments that they think are inappropriate or against community guidelines. And perhaps that's where Facebook needs to do a better job of reviewing those complaints. But at the end of the day, I would say that it's not necessarily the moderators or the company that has a political agenda, although we know that people in a company obviously do have political beliefs, so much as a company trying to meet the demands of a society and an economy that really is upset with their business model and really failing to address those concerns in an adequate way.
And as we said, you can read Erin Dunn's piece, Why Facebook Can't Be Fixed, in the Washington Examiner. Erin, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
God Almighty is a God of blessing. He always wants to bless his people. But how do you get that blessing? And what principles will unlock that secret?
In Miraculous Blessings, Pat Robertson shows you how to open the floodgates of God's awesome blessings in your life.
In order to have a blessing, you've got to be blessable.
Discover what the Bible has to say about God's covenant of blessing, the laws of blessing, and what are the hindrances to the blessings of God.
The words of Jesus, they are as valid as the law of gravity, and if we follow those laws, we will be blessed.
You'll see amazing true stories of everyday people whose lives were rescued and transformed by God's miraculous blessings.
But even the doctors acknowledged that this had to be a miracle.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com to become a CBN partner and get miraculous blessings today.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
The CDC has announced the official start of the flu season based on elevated levels of flu activity in states across the country. Last year's flu season was especially bad. Nearly 1 million people were hospitalized, and the flu claimed 80,000 lives. The flu can lead to deadly sepsis, pneumonia, and heart problems, and adults are 6 times more likely to have a heart attack within a week after getting the flu. So CBN's health reporter, Lori Johnson, joins us now for more. And that's scary stuff, Lori.
It really is scary. And you know, really one of the saddest things are the pediatric deaths. Last year, 172 children died of the flu. And that was the worst we had ever seen, the highest number of pediatric deaths we had ever seen in a flu season. So far, Heather, 11 children have died of the flu.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So research-wise, what do we know about the best ways to prevent getting it? I know everyone has their own ideas.
That's right. The best way is to get the flu vaccine. And last year, we talked about how virulent the flu was, and it was actually the lowest number of people on record had ever gotten vaccinated, only 40%. And that they say that may have contributed to the 80,000 deaths. So the flu vaccine, a lot of people are very wary of it because they think it gives them the flu. That's probably because it takes 2 weeks to take effect. So during that 2-week period, you're susceptible of getting the flu. And remember that a flu vaccine only has 3 strains in it. So a lot of times you can get a different strain of flu.
Not
that's
100%.
Right. That's what we saw last year. But still, doctors say that if you do get a different strain of the flu and you still had the flu vaccine, that you're likely to have a lesser and not as long of a duration.
Okay. And when someone is feeling sick, how do they know this is the flu, this is maybe a cold or something else?
Right, very tricky because the symptoms are almost the same. There's the respiratory problems, the coughing, the body aches, the headaches, but the main difference is the flu. It feels like you've been hit by a bus. So the symptoms are way more severe and they come on suddenly. So if you do get the flu symptoms, you do want to go ahead and go into the doctors because there are these new antivirals. You've probably heard of Tamiflu, and these are very effective at suppressing the flu and sometimes even knocking it out altogether, but you have to act quickly within 48 hours of the onset of symptoms.
Okay, and I know the key is antiviral because we're all trying to avoid antibiotics.
Oh, absolutely. Antibiotics don't even work on the virus. The flu is a virus, and antibiotics do not work on viruses. They only work on bacterial infections. The best way to avoid the flu besides getting a vaccination is washing your hands. And, you know, we hear about this all the time, but believe it or not, there's a right way and a wrong way to wash your hands. You have to lather up. It just kills me when I see people sticking their hands under water and pulling their.
It's a lengthy process to do it effectively.
Yeah, you have to lather up for about 20 seconds and make sure you do use soap. And then, of course, hand sanitizer also works really well. Make sure that it has 60% alcohol. And remember that the flu can live in the air for up to an hour, and on hard surfaces up to 72 hours.
All right. Well, we all need to be in defensive mode. Lori
and
Johnson.
Please don't go to work or school if you get the flu.
Right. All right. Lori, thank you for your time.
Sure.
All right. Well, you, of course, can find more health news right here on the CBN News Channel, with new episodes of Healthy Living airing Tuesday nights at 9:30, and then again throughout the week or on demand anytime at cbnnews.com. We'll be right back.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible, because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
We had 4 jobs that didn't go right. But, we didn't waver in our faith.
That's when God put on my heart that we needed to do the well.
Within a couple of days, we got an insurance refund check that we had no idea was coming.
And here we are, this year, it's just boom.
You go out and help other people, and you get rewarded for it.
Get Pat Robertson's latest teaching, Miraculous Blessings.
New studies estimate that charities and nonprofits such as churches will see big drops in donations in 2019. The National Council of Nonprofits in Washington, D.C. says the drop in charitable giving could be as much as $20 billion nationwide. The reason, new tax laws that are affecting nonprofits across the country. Experts say more people will take the standard deduction as opposed to itemizing. And Dan Celia leads Financial Issues Stewardship Ministries and joins us now with more. Dan, why will these new tax laws have such a strong effect on giving and donations this year?
Well, I think they're going to have an effect on nonprofits, Heather, as it points out in the study, because there's a lot of people that don't give for the same conviction that you and I might give to our church. And, they're giving for tax reasons. Well, if they get those tax reasons, those tax issues satisfied by getting a much larger standard deduction, then it's not going to be really worth their while to go through and itemize their taxes like they normally would, including all those charitable contributions. The end result's going to be very close to being the same.
Same tax incentive there. What is your advice to nonprofits then, to those ministries that depend on donations to encourage giving, at the same levels they've been enjoying?
Well, I think the best advice I could give to those ministries is to encourage and remind their donors of the mission and help them understand that you are giving not for a tax deduction, I hope, but you're giving either, as part of your commitment to the kingdom work that those ministries are doing. I think the nonprofits along the lines of Red Cross and some other, not that they're not doing a great work, but they might struggle a little bit more. So the best thing that the ministries can do is continually remind people of what their gift is being used, why they are giving, and help raise awareness that we are giving from a faith-based standpoint because of the kingdom work that a particular ministry is doing, not for a tax benefit. The tax benefit is nice, but that's not why we give, I hope.
Right. So we just have about 30 seconds, but I want to ask you, a lot of people are struggling with debt this time of year after spending all that money on Christmas presents. What advice do you have for people who are struggling with their finances at the beginning of the year?
Right now, be sold out committed that this is the year you're going to start pecking away. All through Scripture, we hear little by little wealth grows. Little by little, we peck away at our debt. Just a little bit more extra to the principle of that debt and be committed to it, maybe even sacrificing a few things, is going to go a long way to getting rid of that debt. And then staying away from it, that's another story.
Right. All right. Well, Dan Celia with Financial Issues Stewardship Ministries, thank you so much for your time.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Pope Francis rang in the new year in a unique way. The Pope watched a circus performance during his first weekly audience of 2019 at the Vatican on Wednesday. The group of acrobats and jugglers from a Cuban circus dressed in colorful clothes performed a short show on the stage. After the show, Pope Francis gave a speech calling the gospel revolutionary, saying it does not leave us quiet but pushes us. He went on to say love has no borders before wishing everybody present a happy new year. And that is all for today. We hope that you'll join us next time. Have a great day.